Hi. AdWords can be wickedly expensive in B2B. They can also be wickedly affordable. The difference doesn't come down to tweaks, but to taking radical surgery to the approach that you're taking to AdWords. In today's show, I want to show you the typical cost model for AdWords, and it's going to scare you. And then I'll show you why tweaks aren't enough and how to take radical surgery to that and make it not only affordable, but really profitable. Let me walk you through the standard cost model for AdWords. It's not unusual to spend about $10 for a click. And if you're getting 2% conversion rate once they get to your landing page, then it's going to cost you about $500 for a lead. Sounds okay so far. But half of those will be rubbish, so it's really $1,000 for a good lead. And you might only actually get to meet, these days meeting can be face-to-face or virtual, but you might only actually get to meet a half of those. So it's really costing you $2,000 for a meeting. Now, of those first conversations, if you're turning 1 in 4 of those, 25%, into an opportunity to present a proposal, and you're winning 1 in 4 of those proposals, your total cost of acquisition is $32,000. That's simply unaffordable. Well, on the face of it, the key is pretty simple. Get that conversion rate way up. But the typical changes that you're going to make to a conversion page, fixing your call to actions through testing, color, layout, font, copy, all of those things are at best going to get you maybe from 2% to 4%. Maybe. You need more. Now, managing your keyword spend so that you're maybe not in position 1, but you're still above the line, so you may be in position 3, maybe position 2, is only going to save you a few cents. We still need significantly more than the typical optimization techniques. We actually have to start with the keyword, not the conversion. Long tail phrases, and I'll quickly define those in a moment, are your friend. Now, the term long tail has often been used synonymously with a long phrase, so 4 or 5 words in a phrase. That isn't long tail. Long tail refers to the fact that if you stack up all of the phrases that are used for people to find your website using organic search, the first 10 might represent perhaps half or even more of the traffic, but then after that you've still got tens, hundreds, sometimes even thousands of phrases that continue on, fewer and fewer and fewer clicks, and so the long tail is a reference to the fact that there is gold in these really obscure phrases. In our case, 97% of our traffic comes from the long tail and only 3% from our top 10 phrases. The point though is that those long tail phrases, those lower volume phrases, you can get them not for $10, but often as low as $1 or even better. I'll give you a quick example of a long tail phrase. Again, I want to give you an example to make the point that these aren't longer phrases, these are more obscure phrases. Quick example. So let's say that you're an SAP partner and you're implementing SAP software somewhere in the world. I'm going to use Melbourne because that's where I live. Now, if you choose a phrase like SAP partner, of course that's going to be highly competitive. But even SAP partner Melbourne is going to be highly competitive, and the price will reflect that. But maybe the software that you most focus on is Hybris from SAP. And so Hybris implementation Melbourne is going to be considerably cheaper than SAP partner Melbourne. But go further. How about Hybris implementation real estate or Hybris for real estate? Drop the Melbourne, but constrain your ads to Melbourne as an example. So now you've got actually a shorter phrase, Hybris for real estate, but you only show the ad in Melbourne, so you don't need the Melbourne. You might only pay $1 for that ad. Likewise, you might though need to add Hybris for retail, Hybris for all of these other industries, because the problem with a long tail phrase is they have a very low volume. The value is that they're quite cheap. So what you'll need is hundreds or maybe even thousands of phrases that collectively add up to the same volume as a more competitive phrase, but you're spending $1 and not 10. Now, Using that alone, we can get the cost of acquisition down, using my example before, from $32,000 to $3,200. That's a radical change. Now, before I get to the second big tweak, let me just remind you, you need to be using phrase or exact matches, not broad. Meaning, put the keyword in quotes, which means that I want these exact words plus anything before or after it, as well as put it in square brackets, which means only this phrase. If you have it broad, that is, you just put in the words, then Google has permission to interpret that quite broadly, and again, you're going to be getting a lot of rubbish traffic. So phrase and exact, definitely. But here's the second big tweak. I said that the average conversion rate might be around 2%, and that's quite an average conversion rate across the board for B2B. It's 2.3 or something like that. Let's call it 2%. With those really specific keywords, you can have really specific landing pages. Using my example before, Hybris for real estate versus Hybris for retail, my landing page can reflect what a real estate person or a retail person would be interested in. Using that specificity means that I can get my conversion rate considerably up as well. Now, I might get it up to 4%. Sure, I'm still going to do the minor tweaks, the color, the fonts, the call to action buttons, the form layout, etc. But these are big tweaks by making the landing page really specific to my new set of really specific phrases. Now, you do need to plan the whole journey. Sure, it might have begun with a search. They see the ad, they click on it, they go to a landing page. But what next? And what next? And what next? And what next? And what else is going on? And by the way, if they go to your landing page and don't convert, what happens then? And so on. What you really need to do is to map out the entire flow of your tactics, not just one or two of the tactics. And that's the job of Funnel Plan. Using Funnel Plan, you can get your team together, agree your strategy, the problem that you're solving for the market, the velocity you need, and all of the tactics from finding names to closing deals that you need in a complex B2B world. If you don't have a funnel plan, go here, go to funnelplan.com, get yourself one now. If you already have one, you know what I'm talking about. Look, I hope you got a lot of value out of today. I had fun putting it together for you. I've got loads more lined up for next week, and until then, may your funnel be full and always flowing. Our thanks this week to you for watching this week's show, to Elizabeth Pena for blog production, John Ang for video production. My name's Hugh McFarlane, and it's been my absolute pleasure to have scripted and presented this week's show.